Hey, my name's Matt Myers. I am a seven-figure Amazon seller. I've sold well over $1 million total on Amazon within the past 3 years, and in the past 30 days, I've sold well over $60,000 in inventory, looking to ramp that up to about six figures in a month. In the past 30 days, also, I've sold over $100,000 online, that including eBay. So, yeah, that's a little side hustle I have going, but I much prefer this business model. Anyways, long story short, I want to go into detail about the difference between the big Mac Daddy, which is wholesale, and then online arbitrage, because they are two totally different models. Some things are similar, but some things are different. So I just wanted to go into detail and compare and contrast a little bit. So a little backstory about myself actually is that I personally was an arbitrage seller starting off. Within the first year, I hit $121,000 in sales. About $47,000-ish, a little more than that, was actually profit. My margins were ridiculous, I will say that much. I was able to sell quite a bit less while getting a higher margin. And in wholesale, for whatever reason, I tend to get a higher margin than most sellers. Anyways, I think they're just too focused on volume as opposed to margin, but to each their own. If you're looking to scale your wholesale business with mentors like me, Jonah Hodges, who is an 8-figure seller, Kajua Robinson, who is a multi-7-figure per year seller, feel free to book a call for the Wholesale Network in the link below. I will personally hop on there myself and explain all the benefits with you and go over everything. I think it's the best and easiest way to scale this business and the most efficient way to do it. If you are looking to take this business very seriously, I think mentorship is beyond necessary. That's my personal opinion. This is the group I joined to scale my wholesale business, and now I'm lucky enough to be a coach in it. So feel free to book a call down below, and I will see you on the call shortly. After that six-figure mark and a crazy $50,000 month in December of 2023, crazy to think it's been that long, I switched to wholesale in the end of January of 2024, so about a month later. And I want to describe the differences and everything just to give you kind of a clear-cut sort of blueprint of what's going to happen when you make the switch. Also, one more thing just to prove that I'm not bullshitting. It's currently 11:44 Pacific time. That's 2:44 Eastern time back where I live in Florida. I happen to be in Los Angeles right now. And here's my Seller Central app just to show you this is not bullshit. I really do this. And I'm not like your average course seller who's just not actually running the business that they're teaching. There's plenty of people online that love to do that. So I just want you to feel confident in the information that you're getting because there's too much garbage online to begin with. So alongside that, let's check out the actual differences. Difference number one is going to be far less cash back. So one major thing with wholesale that you have to understand is I would say 50% of the actual distributors and suppliers that you're buying from want an ACH payment. A lot of them just don't like credit card, and we have ways around that. But just to give you an example, even if they let you, a lot of times they're going to charge you the 2.9% fee because that fee becomes hefty once you get into the mid to high five-figure range. Like that fee becomes hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So you lose on that 3% transaction fee as opposed to buying like from a website in online arbitrage to where there's no transaction fee at all, plus the Rakuten cashback. Well, the Rakuten cashback doesn't exist anymore, so that's one thing because you're buying from a distributor, and then two, obviously, is going to be the fee that you're going to get charged even when they allow you to use a credit card to begin with. One major thing that is a big difference, which is something you need to note, is the lower prep costs for wholesale units. And this makes sense, and you should really think about it this way. You're doing far more volume in wholesale than you're likely doing in OA for the average person, unless you're a Nike sock seller, like the vast majority of people who are doing OA. Not to sneak this, but yeah, we know who you guys are. But the lower prep cost is for a couple reasons. One, you're doing more volume, as I stated, and two, you are actually shipping to taxable states. So you have to have a tax exemption certificate to even really be shipping to these states, because you're not going to be profitable paying sales tax most times, like, or you're not profitable enough. Like, why would you want 8 to 10% in Cali? The tax is like 10%. You really want 10% digging into your margins? That's crazy. It's batshit crazy to me. So because they're in taxable states, there is simply less demand for them. More people do arbitrage than wholesale. So because of that, they have to lower their prices to hit an equilibrium for the demand, and then so on and so forth. Yeah, it turns out that wholesale prices are quite a bit cheaper. My per unit cost is about 75 cents for wholesale, and for arbitrage, it is at my no tax prep center, it's about $1.47, give or take. So that's something you got to really understand, because if you don't understand that, you're really missing out on some of the benefits of wholesale. So while you lose things like the cashback, which is nice, awesome, free money in arbitrage that way, you gain other things like lower prep costs. It's easier to get a profitable product. Now, you may have the counter argument and the retort that OA is a higher margin, which you do have some validity on that, but most OA sellers I find are still operating at a 10% net margin based on their revenue. So I would say on average, that's a lie, depending on who you are. If you're really good at OA, then yes, I will grant you that point. Major thing is actually going to be far less order cancellations. Far less order cancellations in wholesale than there is with OA. There's really almost no order cancellations. They know like you're here to buy bulk. That's what this business is. You're here to buy bulk, especially if it's brand direct wholesale. They know exactly what you're doing if you have an account with the brand, like I do for a lot of mine. And everything we buy is not canceled. Now, there are lead times, which is a big difference. So, like, if something's available on an arbitrage website, you may not have to wait for it to ship out. It probably will ship instantly, because if they have it on the website, they're likely in stock. I mean, arbitrage is just flipping from a website to Amazon, keeping the difference. Wholesale, sometimes there's lead times. A lot of times there isn't. More often than not, in my opinion, there isn't. They're, like, my distributors are pretty rapid fire, right? There's practically no order cancellations, which solves quite a bit of headache, because in arbitrage, when there was cancellations, I was typically, for cancellations in arbitrage, I was having to spend quite a bit of time contacting the brand and figuring out what's going on with the address, how I have to jig the address, IP address changes, all this stuff that just became a headache. And, you know, you'll do it if it's worth the money. I'm not saying it's not worth the money, and I'm not even discouraging you from doing OA, but I am saying it is a nice benefit of doing wholesale, and that is a big difference. Now, this is a much bigger thing, because you're probably not dealing with this in OA. Matter of fact, I don't think I started touching this until wholesale, and this is hazmat. There's much more hazmat in wholesale. And, you know, one thing I've always said, even when I was speaking at the Wholesale Network conference in 2024, and this was in Las Vegas, I told everyone you should not be focusing on clothing and Nike socks. It's straight garbage, which it is, by the way. I stand by that wholeheartedly. You should be focusing on certain categories, and these are non-returnable categories. And I'm going to weave this back in so you don't think I'm going off topic. Now, hazmat, if you do not know, is a return restricted category. Most of the, like, deodorant's flammable. It can cause an explosion if I think it's lit on fire, whatever. Like, there's like a lot of these hazmat stuff are flammable or deadly if something goes wrong. Because of that, most, if not all of them, are non-returnable. There's plenty of sprays I sold that are not returnable. So you can take a lower margin, and those returns will not eat into your margin at all. Not one bit. And with OA, yeah, you kind of got to get your ass whooped with returns. I mean, when I sold Nike back in 2023, I barely sold it. But when I did, oh my God, there was a pair of like Court Visions I sold back in the day, and the returns were just, every second I'm getting an email about a return. It's crazy. I don't really deal with nearly as many returns. So that's one big thing, as well as, I guess, less returns too, but much more hazmat. Hazmat is a severely underserved category on Amazon to begin with. If you're in wholesale at all, definitely consider going deeper into hazmat, because the dangerous goods space, one, you have to get approved, so there's a barrier to entry. But when you have it, they also remove partnered shipments, so I have to be calling up trucks and trucking companies to get certain dangerous goods from place A to place B in order to get it to the fulfillment center. So there's a lot of margin to be had there in dangerous good products, and it's something that needs to be highlighted for sure. Another big thing, this is why wholesale is just absolutely fantastic, is less regatings. Now, after a lot of people, including myself, were regated in Nike in the end of 2024, I was left stranded with about $70,000 in Nike socks. And how much else was there? There was, in Summer Fridays, another big brand, I was regated. That was about another 15 to, I think it was, no, excuse me. It was $27,000 of Summer Fridays. It was $27,000 of Summer Fridays. So in total, we had about $97,000 missing. And because I was left to liquidate this on my own, this took a grand total of about 6 months, 6 to 7 months. Mathematically, if you were to get a 10% return on investment, which you're getting higher than that if you're doing this business correctly at all. I'm just underestimating just to prove a point. That is $9,700 a month. Almost, we'll round up to 10 times 6. So I lost $60,000 to $70,000 in profit. I think it was closer to 6.5 months, but $60,000 in profit just from that money not being in my hands, at least, at minimum. And to weave this back in, that's just highlighting how bad the regatings actually are. You do not want to be regated. And it happened to me specifically on those Nike listings. And it happened a couple months before. I should have taken the warning. I did not. But I got an ass whooping for it. And you do not want to be in those shoes. If you get in those shoes, your life will become absolutely so stressful. It was one of the most miserable things I dealt with in my life. So less regatings is an absolute plus in wholesale. And, just rule of thumb, you want to be avoiding the absolute mega brands as much as possible. And if you're selling the mega brands, that's fine. But what you want to be doing is diversifying your portfolio. Don't put all your eggs into one basket, because if one gets gated, let's say you take a $2,000 hit, but then you have, I don't know, $40,000+ worth of inventory. On a percentage terms basis, you're not in that situation that I am. That was almost 100% of my inventory that month. For the record, the reason I stocked up that much was because I was planning on going crazy for the holidays. That was inventory that was leading into December. Next thing that's absolutely different about wholesale and arbitrage is the competition between larger sellers. It is far easier to win a online arbitrage buy box than it is to win a wholesale buy box. You have to get crafty sometimes in wholesale. There's plenty of tricks in the book, but what I will say is you're competing against a lot of times the same sellers, because they have your suppliers and they have way more than you, and they've probably been in this game for a decade. You can just tell by the reviews. I mean, these guys are in the multi-thousands. You are competing against the top dogs, so you need to be on point, and you need to be stocking up properly too. Getting 10 units of something that's like, I don't know, $20 profit a unit's great in OA. In wholesale, it's going to take longer to sell through because, one, there's less offers. Two, the buy box a lot of times rotates less. And it's just a different buy box. And if you've done wholesale before, you know exactly what I mean. It's not the same. Like in OA, things just move faster, which is another difference, turnover. You turn over money faster in OA. It's definitely better for making money quicker, but it is far less consistent and far less of a long-term play in a lot of cases. That's not to say don't do OA. I actually recommend doing both. That's just giving you the difference. So next up, we have much easier to buy in bulk, as I stated. So because of the no cancellations, much easier to buy in bulk. With OA, there was a lot of times I was capping orders at like 9 units. And then I have to wait till it ships. Once I get the tracking confirmation, I'm back on the website doing it again, and then so on and so forth. That's something you learn over time in OA, but in wholesale, those are not restrictions. Just fire the order. So that's another thing. The thing about wholesale, things don't necessarily sell out. This is wholesale. I can pre-order inventory, and you can too. So one of the big things about wholesale is you can actually just pre-order inventory, which I would do. And a lot of times I like to aim for the 60-day mark, which is another difference, which I'm going to touch on here in a second. But you can pre-order inventory, basically craft out like the lead time and when it's going to come, and then how long it will take to get the FBA and whatnot. And that can help cash flow that way. But that's just something big to understand, is a pre-ordering inventory is not really something you can do in OA. You cannot call a website and say, oh yeah, just hold this, well, at least as far as I know, just hold this inventory for a few months for me, and then, it will ship whenever we're ready to get it. That doesn't work. So that's one thing. But then also pre-ordering, like if something is sold out, like there's plenty of good OA listings that are just straight up sold out. You can't just pre-order them. It doesn't work like that. They're out of stock. This is a retailer. This is a general public. Okay? This is not B2B. This is B2C for OA. Wholesale is B2B. Like, you need business licenses and stuff to like handle all this stuff. So you can pre-order inventory, and that allows you to get items you otherwise would not be able to get, which is another big difference. Next up, we have the 60-day sell-through time, which I was going to talk about. In wholesale, because you're competing against other sellers, you may not know this, but having more stock guarantees you more buy box to some extent. To which extent, I couldn't quantify that based on a number, but what I can tell you is you will get more buy box share if you have more stock. Primarily, and reason being, is it gets distributed to X Fulfillment Center in Ohio, X Fulfillment Center in Seattle, X Fulfillment Center in California, all over the place because you have so much. And the way the buy box works is it's made to benefit the customer. So if the buy box, if you have inventory in Cali and all these other places, and I'm in Los Angeles looking to get something faster, the buy box is going to show the fastest delivery time. It takes into account reviews as well, but a lot of times it's delivery time. So more inventory actually helps. And to trace this all back, 60-day sell-through, one, as I stated before, and as you're probably starting to learn, there's pre-ordering inventory. And two, you don't really want to run out of stock if you want to compete against these bigger sellers. You don't, because running out of stock, when you run out of stock, you have a harder time getting the buy box than you otherwise would have. When you stay in stock, you kind of create buy box domination that otherwise would not be there. So that's something to note as well. Another thing is going to be, there's a way less IP complaints, way less. And that's something you got to know. OA, seems like everyone gets hit with IP complaints every once in a while, especially as you start to scale up. But here in wholesale, it's a different story. It's not really nearly as many IP complaints. My suppliers, for example, will actually tell me if a specific brand doesn't want Amazon sellers selling X product. And this just happened on some random I forget what it was. I remember the color was white, but it was this weird product, like $50 a unit. We were going to make a boatload of money. Oh my God, that would have been crazy. But then the brand had restrictions, and we would have dealt with an IP complaint anyway. So it wouldn't have been good in the end. So the point being is less IP complaints overall, because your suppliers know a lot of times if you ask, a lot of people don't know this, if you ask them, they probably know what they should be selling to Amazon sellers and what they should not be. So that's another thing. Okay, so we're on the last two. So if you guys are liking this video, please go down, subscribe, like the video, comment your thoughts, any questions I'll be answering in the comments as well. One more thing, or two more things actually. It's relationship based compared to OA. So OA is completely transactional. By definition, you're literally just making transactions on a storefront or website, and after you do that, voila, you get the product. There's no human interaction for the most part at all, unless you're doing address verification or some other things. That's just how it is. Wholesale? You're on the phone quite a bit. I mean, I'm all for emailing because I feel like the email to close ratio and the sheer volume of emails I can put out in a day to gain suppliers and brands is far superior to what I would do calling. But you're going to have to be on the phone a lot, especially after you close. These suppliers always want to be on the phone. It's just how it is. Like in wholesale, it's a human relationship. And, some people made it extreme, especially some of my mentors, which I will disagree with them on. They're like, if you have this introverted personality, you're more of an OA guy. And if you're extroverted, you're more wholesale. That's a whole bunch of bullshit. Just get comfortable with the sales rep and you'll be okay. It's like, just get to know the person. It's really not that difficult. And, if you're into watches as well, I'll go on a small tangent just to make this quick. A brand like this, Rolex, is entirely relationship based. They won't sell you. You can't go into a store and buy a Rolex for the most part. There's, six-figure models maybe, and that's the only ones I've ever been offered. But typically, as a rule of thumb, you can't go in there and do it. It's fully relationship based, and you have to wait. And after you wait, then you start getting allocations that you actually want and purchase history and whatnot. Same thing with distributors. It's the exact same, and suppliers and brands. As you build up a purchase history and rapport, and you get to know the people and you build a relationship, because as I said, very relationship based, you then get, allocations, better pricing, the whole nine. So that's a big difference. Also, we actually have two more. One out of two is going to be net terms. You cannot do this in OA at all. To my understanding, maybe Affirm, I guess, but I don't know any Amazon seller that uses Affirm to purchase inventory, actually. I kind of look as like, I look at Affirm as like, just like, yeah, it gives me this ick. But in wholesale, you are able to actually get net terms with these suppliers. These suppliers you're dealing with are massive. They're millions and millions of dollars worth of corporations that you're dealing with. These are not just these are corporations. They have an ink at the end of them. So just understand who you're actually dealing with. These people provide terms. Net terms are basically, you basically are given leeway because you're such a trusted customer that you can purchase an X amount of products for, I don't know, maybe they give you like a $5,000 line. This is a low line, but just to give you an example. Because you're such a trusted client, you don't have to then pay them back for 30 days. So you even get more cash flow based on that without having money even come out of your pocket. And if you do it right, a lot of times you can turn over faster. Next up, we have location-based delivery restrictions. I currently have a lot of suppliers that require me to ship to a certain location. So I have multiple prep centers I have relationships with across the country and warehouses. And reason being is a lot of suppliers just don't deliver. It's too expensive. To send a truck from New York City to where in the world am I thinking about? From New York City to Florida, where I have a warehouse, that's going to cost you like $700 to $1,000 a lot of times for an LTL. And that is just not feasible. That eats straight into your margin first off. And because of that, they won't even do it. Or you have to hit a minimum order quantity, which is another difference. I don't know how I didn't touch on that. Minimum order quantities are very common. So that's that. But they have location-based restrictions. So yeah, there's one of my best suppliers literally will only ship in the city, in a specific city. One of my best suppliers will only ship in a specific city. So that's one thing that's also important to know. Lastly, and I think this is pretty much it for this video. This is the last thing I have in my notes. And if you've seen me looking on the side, it's because I have notes on my iPad over here. This is going to be far less FBMing. I was never a fan of FBM. It is disorganized a lot of times. I like the turnover, I do, but dealing with the safety claims and all the extra nonsense that comes along with it, I just personally am not a fan of FBM. I kind of like things being automated like it is with Fulfilled by Amazon. That is my preference, and if you're like that as well, wholesale's for you, because most of the products, if not all, you're going to be selling are FBA. Now, there is plenty of one-offs that you will probably do FBM, and there's ways to automate that too that I found, but for the most part, almost entirely, I'm doing FBA. Actually, entirely right now. I haven't sold FBM in probably over a year or two. It's been a minute. So if you're an FBM guy, that's more of an OA thing, RA thing, but in wholesale, we're almost strictly FBA, at least over here. And, most people I know in the wholesale space don't do much FBM at all. It's just kind of seen as like not worth the time, because that time could otherwise be spent getting profitable products or more suppliers, or, any other operation in the business that's worth money. Anyways, that was a solid video. I think I packed a lot of information in there. This was a 24-minute take. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys are looking for coaching, by the way, and if you guys are looking for a one-on-one mentorship, let me help you. I offer a full one-on-one mentorship where you get complete access to me and everyone in my circle in order to help you scale as fast as you possibly can on Amazon. We have an extremely high success rate, and assuming you put in the effort that you need to put in, you can really create a business that gives you a lifestyle of freedom. It's 12 in the morning in Los Angeles right now. I'm just relaxing, and I mean, you can see this is pretty free lifestyle right here. Like, pretty cool. I don't really have any obligations. I can wake up whenever I want. I got a flight to Europe soon. I mean, it's complete freedom. So anyways, long story short, if you're interested, please book a call in the link in the description. There's going to be a short questionnaire that you're going to need to fill out. We will get on a call. I personally will be on the call with you, and we're going to check out if it's a good fit. So as far as that, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next video here shortly. If you're looking to scale your wholesale business with mentors like me, Jonah Hodges, who is an 8-figure seller, Kajua Robinson, who is a multi-7-figure per year seller, feel free to book a call for the Wholesale Network in the link below. I will personally hop on there myself and explain all the benefits with you and go over everything. I think it's the best and easiest way to scale this business and the most efficient way to do it. If you are looking to take this business very seriously, I think mentorship is beyond necessary. That's my personal opinion. This is the group I joined to scale my wholesale business, and now I'm lucky enough to be a coach in it. So feel free to book a call down below, and I will see you on the call shortly.